Hey everybody, it's Emily at ARG Schooling, and today we're going to talk about what I read the second half of June. I read 10 books in the second half of June, which is more than the first half of the month, so let's see what I can remember. I need to get back into filming individual reviews. I don't know what happened. I'm going to try to make that happen in July so that I don't have to play this game anymore. But let's start out with Everything is Tuberculosis by John Green. So I filmed a vlog where I read 3 of my most anticipated books of the year, and this is one of the ones that I read in that vlog. So if you want to hear my full thoughts, go check that out, but I'll give you a brief sum up here. This is nonfiction, and it's about tuberculosis, but it's also about history. And there's like so much information here. I don't know. It's such a small book. I think he probably could have written something twice this size, but he has so much to say. But this is a really interesting look at how a disease shapes so many different things in our culture, in society, and a lot of the things that we think of now. It's a really interesting read. So if you think it might be boring, I promise that it won't be. John Green is an excellent history teacher. He does a really good job of explaining things, and if you want to listen to the audiobook, I would definitely recommend that because he reads it, he narrates the audiobook, and I don't know, so there's something very soothing about John Green's voice. It's relaxing, so I really enjoyed this and I gave it 5 stars. Also in that video, I read All Better Now by Neal Shusterman, and once again was a little bit let down. But I don't know. I'm telling you that he peaked with Arc of the Scythe, and I'm not sure he can ever quite get to that place again. I don't know. I know he has a prequel coming out, like a Scythe prequel, which I'm hoping is like amazing, but this was just okay for me. I don't know. This is a pandemic story. We're following a group of characters in this near future where we have this new disease, and I think they call it Crown Royale, and like if you get sick with this and you survive it, you get like this peace, this inner peace and happiness, and it changes your whole like worldview and perspective. And so the story is following 3 different characters and like their experiences in this world dealing with this illness and like the consequences and things like I don't know how to explain this without giving away too many spoilers, but it's a really interesting idea, and it's not a bad book by any means. It's just not what I wanted it to be. I don't know. The characters felt a little bit flat for me, and I just wasn't able to like really get into it the way I wanted to. And I ended up giving this like 3 3/4 stars. Like it wasn't quite a 4, but it wasn't like bad. So 3 3/4 stars. But then in that video, I also read one of my favorite books of the month, of the year possibly, and that is When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. Oop, the book plate is falling out. I should probably stick that in. This is a horror novel by one of my absolute favorite authors. Like Nat Cassidy has now solidified his place as a favorite author. And this is, I don't know how to explain this one either, because I really think the less you know, the better. Okay, how will I describe this? If you enjoy stories like It by Stephen King, and that one episode of Buffy in season 1, Nightmares, if you like both of those things, you're gonna love this book. Like, it has a lot of similar aspects to that. This has a lot to do with childhood trauma, and that's really kind of all I want to tell you, because I feel like this is a story you want to go in kind of blind and not really knowing a whole lot, because you're in it for the ride. Like, it's very fast paced. There's a lot going on. It's excellent. Nat Cassidy is so good at writing horror stories about trauma. It's excellent. So 5 stars. Cannot recommend Nat Cassidy enough. All of his books are amazing. I adore his writing. Definitely recommend. I finished up some things that I was reading for Build Your Library Level 12 update. So I finished I threw this at my face. So I finished reading A Queer History of the United States for Young People by Michael Bronsky, and this was a great resource. Recommend. It covers all of American history from like the pre-colonial through like modern day. So there's a lot of information in here, a lot of interesting people that I had never heard of and some that I had. So I think this is a great resource. I recommend checking it out if you're interested. This is in the level 12 update and I gave this 4.5 stars. I also read $2 a Day, Living on Almost Nothing in America by Catherine J. Eden and H. Luke Schaefer. I had a different book in mind, and when I started reading it, I was like, ooh, no. Wasn't enjoying it. So I DNF'd that, and on my hunt came across this, and I ended up liking this a lot more. This is about poverty in America, and it's specifically talking about the people who are at like the lowest levels of poverty. These people who live on basically $2 a day, and it follows several different people that they interviewed over the course of their time researching and working on this. I think it's a really excellent overview of what is wrong with the welfare system in America, and they give some great solutions and ideas about what we could do to change it and make it better, and how people are able to survive on that kind of income. So it's a really interesting book. I learned a lot, and I'm really glad I found this. I liked it so much more than the book I had in mind. So definitely recommend it. I gave this 5 stars. I read Tiffany D. Jackson's newest book, Blood in the Water. This is her new book, and it's middle grade. I was so excited to see that she was stepping into middle grade for the first time. And if you've ever read anything by Tiffany D. Jackson, you will not be disappointed. This is excellent. We're following a character who is visiting some friends of the family for a summer at Martha's Vineyard. And her father is in prison, and she believes he was wrongfully imprisoned, and she's like very interested in learning more about the criminal justice system and becoming a lawyer. And so she's like studying in her free time, and I don't really want to tell you a whole lot more than that. This is a murder mystery. There's going to be a murder on the island, and she's going to get swept up in it and try to solve it. It was a really fun story. If you have read her books before, it's very similar in setup. Like, her writing is very full of plot twists and things, so you will get that. I can tell you now that the twist in this book caught me by surprise, and it's middle grade. Like, I did not expect that. Usually middle grade I can figure out. You know, I'm not great with mysteries and like solving the mystery, but like this middle grade I usually can, and I didn't see it coming. So definitely recommend checking it out. I really enjoyed it, and I gave it 5 stars. I reread Fantastic Land by Mike Bakoven because my husband read it for his June book. We're doing a little book club together where I'm making him read some of my favorite books, and despite giving this a 5 star, I could not remember the plot. Like, I remembered the vibes. I remembered like very vague details, but I realized that I didn't remember enough to hold a conversation about it. So I had to reread it, and still enjoyed it. Still think this is definitely a 5-star book. It's very fun. It's told in interviews about a disaster. There's a hurricane. These people get trapped in an amusement park, and it's all about like what happened when everyone was trapped there, like what went down. And it's a really interesting story. Definitely recommend it. Gave it 5 stars. I read the second volume of Spy Family. I read the first one at the beginning of the year. This was when I did a video about my kids pick my TBR. This was Riley's pick. He gave me the first one to read, and I ended up really liking it, and I kept saying I was going to read the second volume, and he's been like sticking it in my TBR every month, so I finally read it. And it was really fun. This is a really fun story about this family of spies and assassins, and they none of them know each other's identity, and they're all like trying to work together. It's really fun and silly, and I really enjoyed it. So I gave that 5 stars. I read The Filling Station by Vanessa Miller. This was an arc that I read. Actually, it came out, I think, in March, but I was a little behind, so I ended up getting the audiobook of this so I could get to it faster. So I really wanted to read this because it is about the Tulsa Race Massacre, and I have not read enough things about that, and I'm always looking for things. So when I saw this, first of all, that cover is beyond beautiful. Like, it is so pretty. It's art. But this is a story about 2 sisters and their experiences. And what I liked about it was that this starts out like at the beginning of the book with the actual like attack. And the rest of the story is like in the years following, and we're witnessing the aftermath of the event, which I found really, really interesting. Like, I know the vague details about, like, I know what happened, but I don't think I've ever read anything about, like, the rebuilding and, like, the criminal justice, like, of it, the cases that they try to put through to, like, get money back for rebuilding and that kind of thing. So, like, it was really interesting, and I really liked that. What I did not like is that the main character in the story, one of the sisters, has a romance and eventually a marriage with this man who is very religious. He's like a preacher, and the amount of time in this book harping on, like, God loves you anyway, like, even though this bad thing happened, like, God has a plan and that kind of thing. And I don't know, really didn't enjoy the preachiness of that. And, like, if it had happened once or twice, it would have been no big deal, but it happens a lot. Like, there's like this constant conversation about it between the 2 of them. And, like, this crisis of faith that she's having, and him trying to, like, bring her back into Christianity after this. And I don't know, I didn't like the preachiness of it. I felt that was a little bit much. So I ended up giving this like 3 3/4 stars. Like, I really wanted it to be better because there was a lot of interesting, like, I can tell the author put a lot of research into this book. Like, every chapter starts with like a quote or a headline or something. So that was really, really interesting. Like, I feel like I learned a lot. I just wish that the story had been better. Does that make sense? Okay, so anyway, still worth reading. I would still recommend it. Just be aware of the preachiness. And then the last book I finished in June was The Collected Regrets of Clover by Mickey Brammer. This was the book I read for the buzzword title prompt challenge, that you're supposed to read a book with a memory word in the title, and I read this because it has regret. This is a story about a woman named Clover who is a death doula, which is what drew me to this book, because I found the whole idea of death doulas really interesting. Basically, they like spend time with and sit with those who are dying so that they aren't alone when they pass, which is really interesting, and I'm fascinated with death, so thought that aspect of the story was really interesting. This is more about like her experiences in life and her solitude that she finds herself in all the time, and like wondering if she's done life wrong. And like she also collects the regrets of those who are dying. Like when they talk to her and tell her things about their lives and what they regret, she'll like keep that in a journal, and then she tries to do those things for them. So like if they regret not eating more ice cream, she will go out and get ice cream. Like, you know what I mean? Like she's trying to like correct their mistakes, but she's living other people's regrets, not her own. You know what I mean? So anyway, this is a bit of a romance in it, but it's also mostly about her coming to some realizations about her own life and her own relationships and that sort of thing. I thought this was really interesting. It's very slow, more character-based than plot. So if you're a plot reader, you probably won't enjoy this very much because there really isn't much of a plot. It's really more like slice of life, her like kind of contemplating her choices in life, her relationships and that sort of thing. I did enjoy this, and I gave this 4 stars. So those are all the things I read in the second half of June. If I have to pick a favorite, it's gonna go to When the Wolf Comes Home by Nat Cassidy. I read some really good stuff this month, but this was my favorite of the month, so definitely recommend. This is going in my top 10 of the year, I think. I don't know that anything can quite top it. This might even be my favorite book of the year. I don't know. That's gonna be a tough call. I've read some really good stuff, but this was amazing. So let me know in the comments, what was your favorite read of June? I would love to hear about it. Thanks so much for watching, and I will see you guys in my next video. Happy reading. Bye.